Wonderful. Welcome to Wisdom Wednesday with Sara Mae. I'm your host, Sara Mae. I am a life coach, I am an energy healer, and I am the founder and instructor of Empowered Empaths Academy. It is my goal to help as many empaths as possible awaken to their inner light and ascend into their best lives. As part of that goal, I come live every Wednesday in the Empaths Awakening Facebook group to share some of my wisdom with you to help you on your awakening and healing journey. We have now expanded our reach by including these videos on YouTube in repeat form as well. If you know anybody who you feel can benefit from today's episode or any episodes, please refer them to either the Healing with Sara Mae Facebook page, the Empaths Awakening Facebook group, or the Healing with Sara Mae YouTube page. Today, we are going to talk about something very exciting, and that is the Akashic Records. We are filming this, that we are in the middle of April. It is springtime, and this is one of the most popular time of years for me to be doing Akashic Records readings. I just really think it's, with everything growing and expanding, it's natural for us to wonder how we are growing and expanding as well, and to really want to check in with that and receive some guidance. And the Akashic Records is a wonderful place to receive that guidance. A lot of people have heard about the Akashic Records, but a lot of people haven't. And a lot of people that have heard about the Akashic Records have a lot of questions. I know, because they like to ask me them, and I love to answer them. So today's episode, I put together a lot of the frequently asked questions that I receive about the Akashic Records. And if you have any questions that you have about the Akashic Records, please feel free to put them in the Facebook group. I see you guys saying hello in the comments below. Please let me know if you have any questions that I haven't asked in here, or you can even pop it in now. Maybe I'll answer it during today's session, or maybe I'll add it on in the end. So let's get started. And the first question that everybody wants to know is, what are the Akashic Records? Now, I learned about the Akashic Records from lots of places. We're going to get into that in a little bit. So I have a couple different definitions that I grabbed for you. The first one is from Linda Howe. And Linda Howe is an amazing Akashic Records teacher. If you are interested in learning about the Akashic Records yourself, I highly recommend all in any of her books. They are absolutely amazing, and they will get you started on your Akashic Records journey if you are interested. Linda Howe defines the Akashic Records as a dimension of consciousness that contain a vibrational record of every soul and its journey. My teacher, Amy Robinson, went on to expand this definition to say that the Akashic Records are an energetic book of every word, deed, and thought from your soul since it has been incepted. At any time, we can open the records and get loving guidance and support from the masters, teachers, and loved ones without any judgment. And in my experience, the Akashic Records is a plane. Just like we are on the earth plane now, we go to the astral plane when we go to sleep. There are lots of planes of existence that we have access to as divine souls. And the Akashic Records is one of them. We have the earth plane, we have the astral plane, the lower astral plane, the etheric plane, the angelic plane, and we have the Akashic plane as well. And that is where the Akasha is in the Akashic Records. And it is an actual plane of existence, an actual dimension of consciousness that can be visited. And you can learn how to go and visit it yourself, or you can have someone dip into your Akashic Records for you. But they really are a wealth of information that is very individualized to you, which is something that is very, very special when it comes to getting and receiving readings. Now, a lot of people ask me, what is the difference between an Akashic Records reading and a psychic read? Like I just said, it's a very interesting reading type of get, but how is it different? Well, the way it's different is that we are going to the specific dimension. We are going to the specific realm and accessing your specific records. There are a lot of different ways to get readings. I can do energy readings where I read your personal energy around you. I can do a chakra reading where I read each and every one of your energy centers. Or I can do a psychic reading. Psychic readings are most often done on the astral plane. And when you're in the astral plane isn't as individualized as the Akashic records. The astral plane is a spiritual dimension that you have access to. There's lots of different guides there. There's lots of information there, but it's not as specific to you and it's not as high vibrational as the Akashic records. So all of these readings are amazing. They're all going to get you great information. The Akashic records is going to make sure that it's specific to you and that I'm working with your masters, teachers, and loved ones when I am reaching out for this information for you, as opposed to perhaps talking to my guides or perhaps just working with whatever energy or spirits are around you. Does that make sense? Throw some hearts up if that makes sense, if you're getting the difference between an Akashic records reading and a psychic read. Hello, Carissa. Welcome, my love. Okay, great. I'm seeing some hearts. Thank you. Thank you. Next up, everybody wants to know who has access to the records, right? Who has access to these records? And the answer is everybody. It is your divine right to access your records. Your records. It is not your divine right to access everybody's records, but it is your divine right to access your own specific Akashic records. There is nothing special about me that makes me able to access my Akashic records, except for the fact that I learned how to, and I trained how to, and I practiced. But you can do those things as well. Like I said, there's lots of different avenues for you to do it. Know that if you feel called to access the Akashic record, yours or other people's, so you can help them, you absolutely can. It is your divine right to do so. These are your records and you can tap into them. And there's a good chance that you tap into them when you're sleeping and don't even know it. Another question people want to know is, how did I learn? How did I learn? So I have 4 people here who were really instrumental in my Akashic Records journey. The first is Helen Vonderheide. You can Google her. She has an amazing business where she both does Akashic Records readings and trains people to do the Akashic Records. She was my first introduction to the Akashic Records. She's someone that my brother went to high school with, and I've known for quite some time, and she gave me an absolutely mind-blowing Akashic Records reading, which really got me interested in the Akashic Records. Now, Helen was trained by Linda Howe herself, and the week before I got my reading from Helen, I had actually bought a Linda Howe book. So when I found out that she had learned from Linda Howe, it was just the most auspicious thing ever. So after my reading with Helen, I absolutely really dove into those Linda Howe books, and I got a lot of information that really got me started. Later, when I was doing my clairvoyant training with Lauren Cielo, I was able to meet my Akashic Records guides, which is one of the guides that is in the Akashic Records. And this is the guide who specifically cares for your Akashic Records, make sure that everything is recorded. When I go to your Akashic Records, they're usually the first person I meet, and they take me where I need to go. That was like one class in a 6-month training. Like I said, I was super interested, so I continued my training, and I went and I did a 6-month program with Amy Robeson, where I really trained down, learned exactly how to do it, practiced it with partners and things like that, so I could get really good at accessing those Akashic records and getting in quickly. So there's lots of different sources that I learned from, and there's so many sources that you could learn from as well. All of this is accessible to everybody. Now, I said earlier, it is your divine right to access your Akashic records, but not everybody else's. So you might be wondering, well, Sarah, how are you accessing my records to do a read? What does a reading look with you look like if you don't have the divine right to my records? Well, I don't have the divine right to your records, but you can grant me that right to your records. So when we connect, when we do a Akashic Records reading, first of all, 99.9% of my readings are done online via Zoom. That's why we have this wonderful little picture here of this girl receiving her reading via Zoom. We connect via Zoom, and I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to plug into you. I'm going to connect to your heart space, and then I will ask you for permission to enter your Akashic records. I'll ask you to say your full legal name 3 times to grant me permission to your Akashic records, and that will give me permission to plug into your Akashic records. At that time, I will go ahead and plug in and connect with your guides. Once I plug in, I'm going to ask you what it is that you want to know today. And we're going to start looking at the images that I'm shown. When I'm doing an Akashic Records reading, I'm most often shown images and symbols. And a lot of people wonder, why do you receive images and symbols and why don't you always receive words? And I'd like to remind you that words are but symbols of symbols. Words are symbols that we assign to things, but they're not always the best description, and they're not as visual. So they're showing us those symbols. They're showing me the symbols as opposed to showing me the words. So I'm going to start picking up symbols. I'm going to start talking to guides, and I'm going to walk you through what I'm seeing, what I'm picking up, what I'm being shown, and what I'm being told. Now, people want to know who gives me the information when I'm in there. Who is talking to me? Who is telling me this? Who is showing me these images? Who is taking me where I need to go that day? And this is really what's so special about the Akashic records. When you're in the astral realm, you don't always know exactly where the information is coming from. It's kind of just flying at you when you're saying what you're getting, which can be extremely accurate. But when we're talking about the highest good, we really want to be plugged into your Akashic records keeper, your masters, teachers, and loved ones, past and future versions of yourself. And that is who is in this Akashic records. Okay, so your Akashic records keeper, that's the person that I met in that class with Lauren Cielo that I said earlier. They are the master of your Akashic records. They're going to keep everything safe, secure, make sure everything is getting recorded, and they're going to take me where I need to go to see what I need to see to help you for your highest good. Your masters, teachers, and loved ones may also show up. That's very, very common. I also see a lot of angels and fairies when I'm in the Akashic records, and I very, very often talk to past and future versions of yourself. Now, do I always get into the records? Does it always happen? And the answer is no, not always. And the reason it doesn't always happen is because you are on a journey, you are on a path. And just like if you were using your GPS to go across the country, you need to go through the states that are in between where you are and where you're going. Does that make sense? You need to go through all that distance. So if your next step isn't in the Akashic records, if there's something more important that needs to be done, maybe you're in a dark night of the soul, maybe you energetically are in the lower astral realm. If you are in the lower astral realm, they're going to take me to the lower astral realm to help lift you up and get you out of there. If you're in the middle of a dark night of the soul, this is a depressive episode that often precedes spiritual growth, spiritual awakening, a whole new leveling up. It's that shedding of the old you. It can be very painful when you're in a dark night of the soul. And if that's where you are, they're going to take me to you where I'm going to meet you where you're at. Does that make sense? Throw some hearts up if that makes sense. If you are in a deep, dark place, I'm not going to go to higher, brighter realms for you. I'm going to go into the dark and I'm going to lead you out. That's what I'm going to do. Okay. Speaking of that, I might also need to do a soul retrieval. If there is a part of you that is ready to reintegrate, if there is a little inner child part of you or inner teenager part of you, or even last week part of you that has separated off and needs to come back, I am going to be taken to do a soul retrieval for you. The majority of the soul retrievals I do are done at what I call Soul Retrieval Island. And I know that when I go into that meditative state, when I connect to you, and when I am taken to a specific boat, that we are going to Soul Retrieval Island, and I'm going to be working with this specific part of your soul, wherever it is, to reintegrate it with yourself. Okay. Also, other times people really need healings. They don't need a lot of advice from their guides during a healing. You usually get advice from me. If you've ever gotten an energetic healing from me, you know that it's a lot like a reading because I give you a lot of information. Um, I pick up on a lot of information when I'm doing your energy reading, when I'm doing your energy healing, and I don't gatekeep that. I tell you every single thing I see. I tell you every little bit of advice that I get. So if you desperately need an energetic healing and that's what your guides want you to do, that's what's going to happen. At the bottom here, I have integrated healing session. An integrated healing session is one of my favorite sessions to do. It is a 90-minute session. The first 60 minutes, I'm doing an energy healing, and then the last 30 minutes, I'm doing an Akashic Records reading. And this is a really powerful way to get a lot of information and a lot of healing done at once, because I'm able to go through, work on each one of your chakras, clear what I need to clear. I might do a soul retrieval. I might pull you out of the lower astral plane. There's so much that I can do. And then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it with your guides. We're going to talk about it with your masters, teachers, and loved ones. We're going to let you know what happened, and we're going to let you know what to do moving forward. Another thing I always want to mention when I talk about this is next steps. The next step is the next step. When I was doing my training, with Amy Robeson, I had a partner, and every week me and this partner met and we did Akashic Records readings with each other. And every week I got the same advice. I got the exact same advice. And I asked a different question every time. And the answer to the question every time, and I seriously made it like my goal in life, like to get a different answer, to ask the right question, to get a different answer, but it did not matter because the answer was the answer, and I needed to focus on what I needed to focus on, and that was my next step. So no matter what I asked, the answer was the same because my guides were like, hey, the next step is the next step. Just like if I'm going down the street, if I want to go northwest, I have to turn west. I absolutely have to do that. I have to turn north. I have to go in that direction. So your next step is your next step. And that's often what you're going to receive in any reading, especially in Akashic Records reading, because that is your masters, teachers, and loved ones. They want the best for you, and they want to help you move forward on your journey. They want to help you ascend on your path, and they're going to tell you what the next step is every single time. Now, do I always get an answer? This is kind of an extension of what we were just talking about. You will get the answer that you need. You will get the answer that you're ready for, and you will get your next steps. If you are not ready for, if you're in California and you're going to New York, you are not going to get New York answers. You're going to get the in-between answers. You're not going to get answers that you're not ready for, or that it's not time for you to understand or receive. We set up things with our masters, teachers, and loved one. We plan a life plan before we come here. You wrote everything out. That's how they know. That's how they have it, right? So they're not going to give you information before it's time for you to get that information. Some things we are destined to go through. Some things we are destined to experience, and that needs to happen. They are never going to get in the way of your highest good. So yes, you'll always get some kind of answer, but it might not be the exact answer that you're thinking of. We always try to avoid yes or no questions in the astral, and really in any kind of reading. You should avoid yes or no answers, because we have free will. We have free will. We have predetermined paths. We have predetermined lessons and goals that we set. But besides that, it's our decision when we are going to do what we're going to do, or if we're going to do it. We can have a list of 100 things that we want to do in this life, and we can spend the whole life saying, yeah, not yet. Yeah, not yet. Yeah, not yet. Right? We always have options. It's not always one answer. So anytime you ask, where should I go next? There's like 6 to 10 roads in front of you. And they'll show me this. And they're showing me this right now. It's so interesting. They're showing me a person standing, and then there's like all these roads in front of them. And there's always options. We think that we don't have choices in life, but there is always a choice. So for you to say, what will happen here? Yes or no? It's too complicated of a thing, because you can always jump in and change that at any time because of free will. Now, the next thing people want to know is, how long is a session? How many questions can I ask? And is a 30-minute session long enough? As I said, I have a 90-minute session. That's the integrated healing session. I also offer a 60-minute session, and I offer a 30-minute session. These are the 3 different lengths of Akashic Records readings that I offer. And depending on the length of the reading, and if we are doing a healing in it, then we are going to ask between 1 and 3 open-ended questions. And yes, a half hour is more than enough for most people. There is a lot of information that you can receive in a half hour. We have been on for 23 minutes now. Okay, so for 23 minutes, the 6 people that are in Empath Awakening right now watching this live, you guys have been here receiving information. How much information have you received from me in the last 24 minutes? It's a lot of information. And like I said, we're just giving you the next steps. We're just giving you some clarity, some confirmation, some guidance, and the direction that you need to go when you're on that road trip that we're using. Let's go back to that road trip analogy. You don't need to know the next 40 steps. If you knew the next 40 steps, it would be overwhelming. It would be too much. You wouldn't remember all of that, right? When you're on the phone, when you're on the GPS, it just tells you the next step, right? Maybe the next 2, but it just shows you the next step. So that's really what you need. So 30 minutes can absolutely be enough time for you to get that guidance, that clarity, that confirmation, those next steps that you're going to receive in this reading. If you're looking at it and you're like, oh, I only think I need 30 minutes, you're probably right. If you have more questions, if you have a list of questions, you're going to want to hop into that 60. And like I said, if you know that you need a healing session, or you just want a healing session, you feel called to it, then that 90 minutes is definitely what I recommend. I love doing integrated healing sessions. They are my favorite way to do sessions. It feels like most of my healing sessions practically turn into them. 2 more questions people want to know. Are Akashic Records readings private? And will I always have access to your records, right? Let's go back to the beginning where we said, you have the divine right to your records. You do not have the divine right to everybody else's records, but you can give or get permission to go into other people's records, right? So anytime you do a reading with me, your reading is 100% confidential, not only for me on a moral standpoint, but I am an ordained minister, which means that I legally have the right to keep your private business private. You are allowed to talk to me, and I don't share your business. I have that legal right as an ordained minister. So no, I always keep your readings private. It is between me and you, maybe me, you, and the keyboard if you're doing a full remote session and I'm sending you a report. But your information is always private. Will I always have access to your records? Absolutely not. Before we end your session, I will close your Akashic records. If you are doing your Akashic records yourself, it is important that you close your Akashic records. It's extremely draining to be attached to the Akashic realm all the time. It would completely drain all of your energy for you to leave that open. Just like you don't stay in the dream realm all the time, right? You wake up from your dream and you go back into your life. Who has ever woken up from a dream I have, so that's why my hand's up. Throw some hearts up if you've woken up from a dream and not come all the way out. If you've woken up from a dream and you've realized, oh my God, I'm only half in my body. Like I don't feel right. I still feel like I'm asleep, right? Yes, I'm seeing some hearts going up because everybody has done this. Everybody has done this. And it is a perfect example of what happens when you're trying to straddle realms and be in two realms at the same time. Okay, so it's very important that if you're doing Akashic Records work, you close that realm up, you close your records before you come back. Just like it's important that when you dream, you come fully back from the astral plane. Otherwise, you're not going to feel right. You're going to be dizzy. You're going to be groggy. It's going to be draining your energy. It's the same thing. So, yes, your Akashic record reading with me, always private. Your information is always private and confidential with me. And will I always have access to your records? No, I close them. And you need to give me access to them again. Each and every time you have to give me the access and you have to allow me in. Now, I have one-on-one clients, my coaching clients, for example, that I have one-on-one sessions with 3 times a year. When we start our sessions, I'm almost always plugged into their Akashic records almost immediately, but that's because we have established a relationship and that's okay. And we've done so energetically and on a soul level. If at any point that was not for their highest goods, their Akashic records reader, their Akashic records keeper, their spirit guides, their higher self would actually tell me no. And I have been told no, not with Akashic records readings, but I've been told no with energy healings, particularly ones where, you know, someone bought one for their partner, friend, whatever, and that person did not want to receive energy healing. They might have agreed to it as a person, but as a soul, they weren't into it. And the second I went to tap in, they were just like, no, you're going, no, I always ask your higher self for permission, and your higher self will absolutely step in and say, no, you do not get access. So please know that your higher self is always watching out for you in that way. The last question that I'm sure you guys are asking at this point, 29 minutes of talking about Akashic Records readings. The last question is, how can I get an Akashic Records reading? If you would like to get an Akashic Records reading with me, you can book that session at www.healingwithsaramay.com. Through the end of the month, through the end of April 2024, you can use code WISDOM44 to get 44% off any remote service. So that means an Akashic Records reading, a Reiki energy healing, or that integrated healing that we were talking about. That's a little bit of both. Pick anything that you want, 44% off when booked online during the month of April using code WISDOM44. You can book it with me. There's a scheduling system in there. And like I said, we'll do it online. Very powerful way to do it. Another way that you can access the Akashic Records yourself is I have designed a meditation to take you to your own Akashic Records, your very self. It is offered in my offering Journeys with Sara Mae. This is a trio of sacred journeys to help you transform your life. I have an Akashic Records journey in there. I have the Journey to Soul Retrieval Island. Yes, you can do your own soul retrieval. It is very powerful when you do so. And I have the Journey to Meet Your Higher Self in this 3-pack. This 3-pack is only $99. That is $33 per meditation. And you're going to have access to this for life. You will always be able to go in and access these meditations until you become so comfortable with it that you no longer need my voice guiding you. But if you're like, Sara, like, I'd love to get a reading from you, but I want to access the Akashic Records all the time. I want to be there every day. I'm in my records every single day, and you have the right to be in your records every single day. If you'd like to do that with a guided journey for me, that is absolutely available. I will be dropping the link. And lastly, we're wrapping up for today. I want to remind everybody this Sunday, April 21st, we have our next virtual group Reiki session with me. This virtual group Reiki session is going to happen every month. This month's session is an $11 minimum donation. You can donate anything you want starting at $11, and it will get you a 1-hour live Reiki session with me. This is done in a group setting. Every single healing is done to tailor-made to the people who are attending that session and the people who will attend that session. So every single one will be different. This is a fantastic way to experience distance Reiki. And like I said, I will be doing the next one this Sunday, April 21st at 11 a.m. You can register for it. There is an event in the group, and I will pop the registration below that for that below as well. That is our session for today. Thank you. Thank you guys so much for being here. I see so many of you have stayed to the very end. Thank you so much for doing what I consider the most sacred work that there is. You have just invested 33 minutes into your awakening, 33 minutes into your ascension journey, 33 minutes into yourself and into your soul, into raising your vibration. When you raise your vibration, don't only raise your own vibration, but you raise the vibration of everybody around you, and you raise the vibration of the collective as a whole. In my opinion, this is the most sacred work that any of us could do. And I'd love to thank you so much for doing your part to share and spread the light. With that said, the light in me bows to the light in you. And so I say, namaste. Thank you so much for being here. I love you all. I'll see you next week.